One more alarm clock for the weekend. Welcome back, everyone. It's a plan that started as a barber shop and grew from there. Houston White is on a mission to create something special in North Minneapolis, his own type of country club where everyone is invited. I recently sat down with Houston to learn more about him and his plan to reshape a section of the city. Look at this. If someone walked in and they knew nothing about you, they knew nothing about the place, how would you describe it?
I would describe this place as a black man's country club. There are very few spaces in American society where black men are celebrated and allowed to just be themselves, say whatever they want to say, whether you're a politician or a kid failing from school, right? This is a sacred ground, a hollow ground where you come and you learn things, you laugh, you get inspired, and you get taught. It's integral to black men's lives. The barbershop is just like this very important institution in the community.
Whether it's a beauty shop or a barbershop, it is the epicenter of the neighborhoods that they're in. Am I right on that? I mean,
no doubt about it. We call it the cultural heartbeat. You know, literally, it's what pumps the lifeblood of the community. You can get a bootleg DVD.
Where is that section in here? I don't know. I don't see.
You know, and that's not necessarily what we do, but that's what makes the shop so real to people, because it's just this authentic place where folks are allowed to just be themselves and transact. Our commodity is the environment. Our commodity really is how this place emotes and gets people to, if you think about like walking into a luxury hotel, before you ever see the room, there's just something about that space that just makes you feel like, I just want to be here. And
and you can't put your finger on it. There's just something about it. It's the smell and the atmosphere and the people and how the people make you feel. I get it. I get it, what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah, totally. It's also where I hosted Archbishop Hebda, right? Like, so, and there's a funny story, a friend of mine, he told his colleagues when he went back to work, he says, I was at the barbershop for Martin Luther King Day and the bishop was there, and he's the only white man that ever outblinged black men in a black barbershop because he had the cross on and he was blinging. It was the coolest thing ever.
What's been one of the most rewarding things for you as the creator of this? When you go home at night, what brings you, what gives you joy about this place?
It's the way it makes people feel. There are like young guys who have come up to me or sent me notes and said, I'm inspired, keep going. And they'll come in and just ask advice about marriage, or I'm starting a business, or I don't want to go to college, or any of those types of things. And so like, I remember my uncle telling me, you know, one of the differences between my generation and yours is that Muhammad Ali lived on the same block that we did. And so your heroes were amongst you. And so this idea of me being, in some ways, an example of what's possible for a lot of these young fellas, I'm right here. And so I'm accessible. And the other part of it is this cultural collision piece. We live in the state of Minnesota where it's probably 85% white population. This is a black barbershop if you didn't know. But the fact that 40 to 50% of our clients are non-black. And it doesn't feel like we have to be anything that we don't want to be. They don't have to culturally appropriate. It's just like this collision of cultural relevance and fun and enjoying what's, it's kind of like if you go to a rap show, right? You don't tell Method Man how to rap. You just like the music and you appreciate it for whatever reason you appreciate it for. And that's my second most proud thing, is that we're bringing people together to learn, to share, and to grow together.
The best things don't need explanations. No, they don't. I got to tell you, in the years in TV, when I walk to these shoots, we call them shoots, whenever we walk up to these places to interview this and that, whether I'm doing horse yoga or whatever, I walk in and I sometimes get an immediate sense of not only the subject, but the subject matter. And when I walked in and I looked at Houston, we had almost an instant connection. And I don't mean to sound woo-woo, but there was just, I had an instant admiration for him and just an instant affection for him. And I walked out so inspired to just do better in my own business. And coming up in a little bit, you're going to see how the barbershop, the country club, the retail, because he has retail there, that is only the beginning. One of the first things he said to me was, this is just the start. And he pointed to a board in the back of the shop, and he goes, this is the future. And when we come back, you're going to see the future, which has to do with not just transforming his space, but transforming a section of Minneapolis. And he's going to do it. And it's all about coffee when we come back. Back after this. Welcome back to the show, everyone. Before the break, we met Houston White and learned more about his mission to create Camden Town in North Minneapolis. Part of that plan is to bring a specialty coffee business to the neighborhood, and he's doing it with the help, one of my favorites, a local coffee roaster. Look at this. We talked about what this place is. Let's talk about what it's going to be, and it's really exciting.
We're always going to be true to who we are, right? We're a barbershop. And so we're building a new barbershop that is going to be flanked by a street cafe. I feel personally, as a Northsider, we need more places that activate the street. Right? What's cooler than driving by and seeing people outdoors, laughing, listening to music?
The energy. It's the energy, yes.
So that is a part of it. And then this space that we're in now is going to be completely like ripped to the studs and reimagined. And we're part barbershop, part coffee bar, part retail space. I have a brand, the Houston White brand, which will live in this space and get a lot of window time and hopefully brings a lot of people here to shop for clothing. But the thing I'm most excited about is the coffee company.
I'm excited. As y'all know, I am a huge so this is exciting because I now have a friend in Houston, and y'all know I love Dogwood Coffee, so this is the best of both worlds. What are you guys doing together?
The Get Down Coffee Company is the name.
It's the best name ever, seriously. But it has a meaning.
Yes, it has a meaning. And the meaning, disco in the late 70s and b-boying in the late 70s converged to create this new genre of music called hip hop. And right now it inspires pretty much every part of American culture. And so we thought, like, Dogwood Company, Houston White, get together and create this new thing, and it's to Get Down. And there's so many of us that grew up during the 80s and 90s, and what brought us together is art and culture.
Yeah.
So urban culture is just a fun way to celebrate our differences, but when you mix it together, you create magic, and so that's kind of what we're doing.
What do you hope this renovation, this addition, this partnership, what do you hope it's going to do for this neighborhood?
That it excites, that it catalyzes, that it gives a preview into what the future can, should, and will look like. Somebody has to go first, and so the goal is that we want to fill this entire block up with entrepreneurs and folks living in community, and beyond that, we have a 2-year goal to bring a roaster to North Minneapolis. It's one thing to have a coffee shop, and that's great, but we want to build a business that has people from the community working in that business. Yeah.
This is prolonged and lasting change.
That's the goal, sustainability. Like for me, it's about like, how do we affect the future? How can we create things that are gonna not only inspire and change, but have sustainable impact into the future? So when you and I are getting together 10 years from now, we're talking about, man, that Get Down is everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And then that is what success looks like. And so that's what I'm hopeful and I'm inspired by.
Well, get that frequent customer card ready, because
Yes,
I'll be
sir.
back. Houston White is what success looks like. He said something at the beginning when I walked in, and he talked about, after some trauma, after a tragedy, there's an influx of cash. There's donations to this family, to this business, and then that dissipates. That eventually goes away. When banks and institutions give loans to business people, that is where change comes, because that's lasting change. The money, you can make a $20 donation, and that's good, and that's needed. But when you have organizations helping other organizations, like big banks helping entrepreneurs like Houston, and you have Houston taking that money and making a business, which then helps people, which then in turn helps the neighborhood. That is the lasting change that we need. And when he said that, it was like a fireball, like went right through me. I thought, absolutely, that's what I mean by that was one of the first things he said to me. And I walked out so energized to do better. And I want to thank you. It was Kendall. Kendall was researching a possible guest. It was a Forbes. He was featured in Forbes, right? Houston was?
Yeah, it was after we found him. On Facebook, a friend of mine, Sam Nadelli, liked something he did, something like that, who's also a mover and shaker. And I was like, this guy seems pretty cool.
Yeah, and he is.
Yeah.
It's one of the best parts about this show is introducing all of you that watch us all over the place, introducing you to wonderful people like Houston. And you can support Houston White and his goals for North Minneapolis by checking HWMR on Facebook and his website, HoustonWhite.co. And I'll be getting my hair cut over there. Let me tell you, it really was a cross section of everybody.
It looked so cool in there.
As we were standing there, it was. I mean, let me be very blunt. There was a white woman, and then there was a white teenager, and then there was a black man, and it is what he wanted to create. It is a cross section of culture that was great to see.